Do you think UFOs, the paranormal, weird history, cryptozoology, and outsider art are pretty darn cool? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to High Strangeness with your host, Steve Berg.
The video version. Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of High Strangeness. Oh my God, could it get any better? Today, I have my great friend, the very first guest ever of this show, coming back for the 100th episode, is my boy, Greg Bishop. Greg, how are you doing?
Okay, you're up to 100 now? That's amazing.
Yeah, I've been cranking them out. Yeah, I've cloned myself, and we're just,
I know
we're
you
just
have
going.
comedians on and UFO people and cryptid people, and I think you're climbing towards the. You should have on Dana Gould.
I'd love to have Dana Gould. I have actually a mutual friend. I used to go to this Christmas party every year, and Dana Gould would be there. Really nice guy. It would be great to have him.
That seems like it. My girlfriend says that you should meet him because you guys are both into like weird stuff, and Ed Wood. It's like, I'd love to. I think he's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's still doing stand-up, I believe.
I think he is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those...
Mostly does that hanging with Dr. D stuff, but it's, or Dr. Z, sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's an old road dog, man. That guy's been at it for probably 40 years, I guess.
Yeah.
Close.
He's like, I guess my age or something.
Yeah,
and he started Vampire. I can't believe that.
What'd you say?
He was friends with Vampire with Mila Nurmi.
Really?
Yeah, I went to an Ed Wood. They showed Plan 9, and I think it was just Plan 9. Anyway, but Gould came up and introduced it, and then he talked about knowing Vampire and hanging out with her and helping her out when she was older and stuff. It's like, oh my God, how could that's amazing.
Yeah, it says a lot about somebody if they're friends with Vampire. That means you're pretty cool, if you ask me.
Yeah, or just a decent person or something. Anyway, I mean, I'm sure she could spot. After all that time, she could spot an asshole a mile away. So.
Yeah, you would think so. Yeah. I bet Vampire had a keen sense on people.
Yeah.
She strikes me as that way. Greg, I want to ask you a question before we get into the weird stuff. Like, you and I are old buddies. We used to play par 3 golf together in Los Angeles. How I met Greg, I'm just going to tell people really quick, so I think it's maybe worth mentioning, is that like I remember it was like when podcasts were first coming around, or I don't know, maybe it was like maybe not. It was like 2005ish, I'm guessing 2004. And I remember I was extremely sick. I had like bronchitis. And like really, like the sickest I'd ever been in my life. And I remember my wife was out of town, and it was like summer, it was hot in my apartment, and I'm like fevering, feeling terrible. And somehow I'm like, I'm gonna check this podcasting thing out. And I stumble across Radio Misterioso, I should say. And I ended up for listening to every single episode in like 4 days and becoming obsessed about it. And it like got me back. It got me back into like Fortean in such a new and exciting way. And then I remember just like, screw it, man. I know this guy lives in LA because he mentions it. I'm going to email him and just see if I can buy him lunch. And we met at the farmer's market. You pulled up on a little scooter. And like, you were so nice. You gave me like, your Vespa, but you gave me like 3 hours of your time. And we just kind of became fast friends. And you were the nicest guy in the world. I was like, God, this is great. It's like, it's always so nice when you like admire someone's work and then they end up being like super cool.
That's happened to me a bunch of times too. Just people who are kind of like heroes of mine. Like, turns out they're really nice, and you're kind of stunned, and then you're kind of turning around. It's like, are you talking to me? Because I don't see anybody else here. It's just, I mean, I've found that out with various people. And I mean, you can't just, most of them are just really nice to anybody, but I just find that most of them, you can't just walk up to them and say, hey, I like your work, and they'll talk. Most of them will talk to you for a few minutes, but to get to the point where you call them up and I say, I just read this in your book, what did you mean, and can we discuss it? And they do it. To me, that's people I've been reading since I was a kid. And eventually I got to the point where I could call them up and say, what does this mean? They're like, well, hi, what's going on? Yeah, well, I meant that by that, or I don't think that anymore, or whatever it is.
Yeah. I think it's one of these people who's like, oh, don't meet people admire, or don't meet your heroes and stuff like that. And I feel the exact opposite. Like,
Oh, no, you have to.
yeah, I think it's a good experience. I mean, like, look, every once in a while I've met someone I admire their work and they weren't terribly nice, but that's okay too. Like they were like mean, but
Well, that's Hollywood too.
That is Hollywood, yes. If they think you have something to offer, then maybe they'll be extra nice to you.
William Goldman say that you meet the nicest people ever, and you meet the most terrible people ever working in entertainment. And it's funny. It's like it seems like there's no in between. There's no people that are just kind of friendly. They're very friendly, or they're completely not friendly.
I think that's fairly accurate.
The time I worked in production, the directors I worked with were either horrible or great.
Yep.
And crew people were either horrible or great. Everybody I had to interact with. It was so strange. It just brings out the best and worst in people.
That's true. I couldn't agree more. Even like people who were like, got into the business through nepotism or had like a parent who was friends, like, no, they're still like grateful for what they have, and like for the most part really nice. There's exceptions, of course.
They'll last a while, but eventually instead of just blacklisting people or whatever, I guess they do get blacklisted. I mean, that happened to who was the actress in Chinatown? Faye Dunaway.
Faye Dunaway, yeah.
Worked with her after a while. She just disappeared. It's because she's really hard to work with, and my first wife worked with her and said she was absolutely horrible to work with. It's like, okay, I know why she doesn't work anymore.
Right, but hugely talented.
Yeah, not that person. And it goes all the way down the line to crew and below the line, everything. It's amazing.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I think the thing in like Hollywood or any kind of like artistic endeavor is like there's too many talented people. So if you get there, at the end of the day, you have to work these long, intimate, up close and personal hours. And if you're a prick, then people are like, peace out. Like, no, there's 10 other people who can do the job just as good.
They're on the set for 16 hours, and they want you to finish up this one ever stupid thing, and everybody's there, and everybody's on edge, and that's the time everybody has to be on it and nice. It's amazing.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, I think that goes with anything in life. Bands, whatever.
It does. It's just cranked. It seems to be cranked up here, which is why I stopped working in production. I went into post, for many years.
Yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. It will
not at all.
Lots of highs, lots of lows, and not much in between.
You have to do exactly what you're supposed to do perfectly, exactly when called on to do it.
That's exactly right.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
To do it.
You're right. It's amazing. Like, it's like, I always tell people, like, I don't like poo-poo movies or say, movies suck, because I'm like, just the act of getting a movie across the finish line and finished and put out there is next to impossible.
Yeah. No,
it really is.
It's not even a thing until people are sitting in a theater watching it. And even sometimes that isn't it. But yeah, it's like when your check clears and people are watching it, then that means it's a film. Other than that, it's something that happens.
Oh, dude, I've been in like a lot of indies and like so many pilot TV shows that like half the stuff I've acted in, no one ever saw because it never got finished or it never made it to the air. Like it's a weird life.
It is.
Well, Greg, what have you been eating? You are one of my foodie cohorts, and we like to talk about food a lot. But have you had anything delicious to eat lately?
Tons of stuff. I'm always doing that. It's like one of my bulwarks against like depression and boredom. Well, I don't get bored easily. I've been bored in probably 30 years.
I love that.
What I will tell you, when I couldn't make my rent like for months at a time, or barely could, and nothing else, the store down the street in Topanga where I lived, the store owner just put me on a credit thing and just had me, like, I just come in and he would just write down everything. The only thing I didn't deny myself was food, was nice food. Yeah. So, I've been cooking since I was a kid. So, delicious lately. You know what I've been doing for like 4 or 5 months now is making sourdough. I did not start it during the pandemic like most people did, or a lot of people did. I just thought I'd do it at some point, and it took like a month. It took like 6 or 8 runs through to get it right. but now I've got it where it's like nice and sour. The bubbles in it are really big. It's nice and chewy on the outside. And so I just keep that around. I mean, I keep that bread around, and and it doesn't go bad very easily. It lasts for a week or so.
And it's like the cleanest bread you can eat too, and it has a lot of good probiotics for your gut biome. Oh yeah, Greg is showing me a beautiful picture of it. Oh, that is lovely. That looks perfect.
Yeah, I mean you can barely see it, but yeah. I mean, if I have the bread around,
are you making what are you making a sandwich with that? What are you using it for? Oh yeah. I can't. It's hard to see. I can't really see it now, but I can imagine how good it looks.
It's a BLT, but I made a BLT, a toasted BLT and avocado with. Somebody gave me a hydroponic setup, and I put it in my second kitchen, and I've got 2 kitchens now.
Look at you.
Yeah, with 2 stoves, so I cook 2 loaves of bread at the same time. But the hydroponic I put up, and it's got Thai basil, wasabi arugula, which tastes like wasabi. It's amazing.
I've never heard of that.
And lettuce. And the lettuce grows so fast, I have to keep cutting pieces of it off and making a salad because otherwise it'll take over. So I eat lettuce, and I don't have to wash it or anything. It came straight off the thing in the kitchen, grown in hydroponic water. And so I thought, well, I've got really nice smoked bacon. I've got some tomatoes around, and I got the bread I made. So I made a BLT with avocado and BLT with avocado and toasted it. And usually I put spice on stuff because I like spice. It didn't need it. It just needed salt and pepper and mayo. It's so amazing. Just a simple thing.
What a great summer sandwich too.
Yeah. I mean, that and a lemonade or an Arnold Palmer, and I'm totally happy.
Forget about it. That's like a BLT and a caprese sandwich are my 2 sandwiches of summer.
I did for a while. Like my second wife, the one that passed away, we for a while we were on a craze to make the perfect BLT. So we finally did it. I think it was sourdough, like hydroponically grown butter lettuce, like this weird heirloom tomato. I can't remember what the name of it was. Very dark red, almost black. And mesquite smoked bacon. It was the perfect BLT.
God bless. And when you have a perfect BLT, it's life affirming. It really is. It is. It makes you excited about things. I mean, like
I made up. It's like I've eaten great food. Oh, I was in Alabama for this SCU,
which we're gonna get to. I have a lot of questions about that.
And I ate. I was there for 3 days, and 3 days in a row I had shrimp and grits, which is one of my favorite things.
I completely. Whenever I'm down south, I used to go to Atlanta a decent amount for work, and every time that's almost all I would eat would be because the shrimp and grits in Georgia is unbelievable. And
yeah, it's different too in every place. I've had it in Virginia, Georgia, Louisiana, Alabama. It's amazing. I mean, just the regional, and it's never bad.
No, it's never
you
bad.
Can't screw it up.
You can't serve. I mean, if you can't be a restaurant that's open if you serve bad grits down south. Like
Yeah, exactly. And you do know that I've been growing blue corn for like 3 seasons now. So I grow the blue corn, harvest it, dry it, like hang it in the kitchen and dry it, shuck the corn off, nixtamalize it, which is like you have to actually boil it in calcium lime stuff. The Aztecs discovered this. Otherwise, if you're trying to make tortillas or tamales out of it, it doesn't stick together. So you have to do this one step, like boil it for an hour and let it sit overnight in this water, drain it out, grind it. I've got a hand grinder that like attaches to the, and then I make tortillas out of it. God, they were the best tasting tortillas ever.
You sent me a picture of some of the tortillas. I'm like, good God, that is like that's something. Now like every tortilla is going to taste like garbage after that.
Yeah. And I raise red corn, like the stuff called Jimmy Red Corn, which has really high sugar content. And all I've made with it so far is pancakes and cornbread, which is amazing.
Oh, I had blue corn pancakes in New Mexico one time, and it was honestly the greatest pancake I've ever had in my life.
Oh, you know what? For breakfast, we're going to stop here in a minute, but for breakfast...
No, I'm loving this.
Things is blue corn grits with dried fruit and nuts, with like kefir, the yogurt.
Yes.
That stuff, a little bit of honey, and then some bacon and a couple of poached eggs with New Mexico red chili sauce and espresso. That's one of my perfect breakfasts.
That sounds absolutely phenomenal. Oh my God, I gotta get my hands on some blue corn.
Yeah, just order blue corn grits online, and it's like they're really easy to prepare, and it's just this mush, but it's got this this earthy blue corn taste that you like. Oh, the other thing I put in it is applewood smoked salt.
Oh, whoa,
So that adds
taking
like
it up
this
a
whole
notch.
other layer of like smokiness to it.
Oh my God, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, so I just ate lunch and I'm thoroughly hungry now. Anyways, let's go to Henry's Tacos, man.
Not food. Sorry, I can go on for days.
Well, you and I think when we would hang out in LA, half our talk was food talk. Like we would go to some great restaurant, or we go to Chili John's, we go to Henry's Tacos. We know what we were doing. No meal was wasted in our hangouts.
No. And I really miss that. I don't have anybody to play golf and go eat this food with anymore, so I just I don't.
Well,
but
I gotta
Steve and I would play golf and basically talk shit about ufology.
That's exactly right. Lovingly, kind of.
A web series on it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of talking shit about ufology, I mean, no, that was maybe not the right segue, but you have been to some events that I would love to get how your experience was. But I would say, since you mentioned SCU, let's hear about, and maybe if you could tell the listeners what SCU is, because I know it's a big deal, but like it may not be as well known.
Yeah. Scientific Coalition of, used to be ufology, now it's UAP studies.
Oh, boo.
Yeah, I know. I've caught myself saying UAP a bunch, and it's embarrassing. But I will still force the UFO acronym when I can, which is almost all the time. So they broke off from MUFON because they, surprise, surprise, got pissed off with the way MUFON was doing things.
Yeah.
Rich Hoffman, Peter Reale, and oh my God, he's not even going to see this, but maybe he will. Anyway, God, I can't remember his name now. I had lunch with him like twice, but I'm bad with names now.
I am too.
Anyway, these guys split off from MUFON, saying they weren't scientific enough, and decided to form their own group where they would concentrate solely on the data and solely on research in a way that is purely scientific, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're realizing, just like some other people, that purely the way that science is done, the way we're used to it, the scientific method, I think a few people in the group are realizing that scientific method is good, but it has to be modified slightly to look at the UFO thing. I think Valet pointed this out. And Heineck a long time ago, so specifically Heineck, I think. And so what happens at their conferences is just one after the other with breaks and all that, nicely timed breaks, but adjudicated and peer-reviewed papers on various things. And every time I've gone to three. They've had three in-person ones in Huntsville, because I think that's where Rich Hoffman lives, because he works for the Army, like the Missile Command or something.
Right, that's the Rocket City, right?
Yeah. The space camp is there. Every time I went down there were a bunch of kids coming out of space camp after graduating. They're all waving their little certificates around. And then I saw a bunch of them at the airport and stuff. So there were like hundreds and hundreds of these kids going to space camp. I want to be astronauts. I wish that had existed when I was a kid. I'd have gone.
Yeah, me too.
But every presentation is interesting to me. And it's so weird because one of the presentations, I'll give you an example. One of the presentations was like, wow, I just took I had the schedule with me. I just took it out of my luggage. Okay, one of them was how to use FM radio signals as passive radar to track unidentifieds.
What?
You can use FM radio signals. You can use the Doppler effect of something coming through in between you and the transmitter that will leave a trace because it'll interrupt the radar. I mean, I'm sorry, the FM signal. Doppler meaning some of it gets to you later,
Right.
because it's the difference between the two times. So if something goes in front of it, that radar is going to get to you a little bit later, and it leaves a trace of where it went. So they're saying, well, the presentation was, why don't, what we could do is have, because you can do it, he says, with one receiver, but if you have two receivers, you can triangulate it. So, most of the stuff going through there is going to be airplanes. And you can tell that because they're going at a constant speed and they're on schedules and all that. But the things that aren't, you can correlate them with, did anybody see anything going across the sky in this general area at this time, because our passive radar Doppler receiver got something that wasn't a plane.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so that was one of the presentations. Another one was how do we use old radar records to either reinforce or discover UFO events. Like one of the ones they got was, one of the ones examined, not this year, but I think 1 year, was they looked at the Japan Airlines Alaska.
Sure.
And it's funny, some of the radar didn't show anything. Like the civilian radar showed nothing, apparently. I think actually the Japanese Japan Airlines pilot actually said, like, there's this huge thing here, and the controllers were saying, well, great, but we don't see it on radar. Apparently some of the military radar picked it up, because it's I can't remember what it was. The difference between, obviously the military radar is going to be more accurate or use different frequencies. But they were trying to figure out, what did the military radar see? What, can we get data from more than one of them? And does it track with what was seen? And it kind of did, but not completely. It's funny because it would show it sort of near the aircraft, but then it would show the same, a second later, it would be like, 50 or 100 miles away.
Weird.
So the radar was either wonky, or it wasn't working right, or the thing wasn't returning a radar signature the right way. Anyway, this is an hour long of, here's a list of data. Here's what the radar is. This is how the radar is built. This is what it's meant to detect. This is civilian radar. It's like, and I'm sleepy, but for some reason I don't go to sleep. It's so weird that this completely geeky, stupid, data-intensive stuff is interesting to me. And the thing is, for me, in my heart of hearts, I don't think they're going to find out much except more data about stuff that's unknown.
Right. Which is good, like, why not?
It's fine. It's good. And there's no reason to stop it, because you know what? Somewhere in that data might be something nobody's really realized they can look for yet. That's why I keep people like, you telling them, people not to do regular data collections. Like, no, because the more data there is, and the better that it is, then your results might be better. I mean, there'd be less garbage in and less garbage out.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I feel like I'm not really representing it real well, but that data, I think, looking at that old data and also combing through it with tools that we didn't have 10 or 15 years ago, namely AI queries, is it may reveal patterns we didn't know before. It may be like, open up a whole new area of research and speculation, and maybe it's stuff that can be tested, like the Skywatch people are doing when they're trying to call things in and using all that.
Well, like, I often quote you, and I think this is such a great way of putting it. Like, by furthering some of these like ideas and scientific studies, it teaches us maybe we won't figure out what it is, but we can learn how to ask better questions.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something I've heard you say that 100 times. I'm always like, Yes, because like the idea, like, well, we'll know what UFOs are by 2030. And it's like, I don't think we will. We may never know.
I don't think we will ever know what it is, but we will have
I agree.
better idea what the source is and why we see things the way we see them. You know, I'm pretty convinced, like you are and a lot of people, that there is another intelligence out there and it does things.
Yeah.
Past that, I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if it uses hardware, something that looks like hardware, or something that's hardware for a while.
Right.
The MUFON conference this year, next month, is, oh my God, it's in about a month. Is about, their theme is unused, underused, or forgotten data. That's the theme, which luckily Earl Grey Anderson, who passed away recently, was my friend. He championed me to MUFON and tried to get me on the speakers to speak at the national conference, which this year finally they said okay.
Oh, great, good.
Yeah, so I'm speaking at MUFON next month in Covington, Kentucky, right across the river from Cincinnati.
Oh, that's amazing. Great.
Yeah, and they're having a tour of Wright-Patterson the day before, and I'm going to fly in the day before just so I can go on that tour.
Yeah, why not? So much lore there,
The fact that it's Wright-Patterson, they've got a really nice, like, Air Force museum there with planes and stuff, and my dad was in the Air Force, so I'm all interested in that. So
yeah, you're an aviation nerd. Yeah. Is it true? I remember hearing a rumor that they, at least at one point, that the Joe Simonton space pancake was taken there.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know where it is now.
Well, make sure you ask for this to see the space pancake.
I will.
When you're there.
I'll tell him you should give it to David Marler at New Mexico.
Barry Greenwood had a chunk of the space pancake, and I believe he did give it to Marler.
Oh, okay, good. Oh God, I'm gonna ask him when I see it when I go back there. You know what he showed me last time was Stephen Michalak's piece of his shirt that was burned by the UFO, and his glove.
God, that's awesome.
It was like going to church and seeing like this holy object. It should be
like
in a
shroud of Turin.
Rolls around it in gold. It was just in a frame.
But I mean, for us nerds, that's the shroud of Turin of ufology right there. You know,
completely. I mean, anything like that, Michalak's shirt and glove, or Simonton's pancake. I mean.
Forget about
I guess I'm not supposed to touch it, but I bet if I went up and touched it, I'd have like some holy power.
Yeah, you'd be imbued with all the knowledge of the world for like 1 second, and then you'd forget about it. You know, one question I have about the SCU is, one of the things that, like, you know, with and like I've never been to one of these kind of more scientific leaning conferences, but do they take seriously civilian cases? Because like a lot of times I feel like when I hear reports from these conferences, they do. Okay, good. Because like, like in terms of like mainstream ufology right now, it's like they're okay, good. Because there's so much focus on military UFO incursions or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
But those, I mean, I feel like forgetting about the civilian cases is like such the wrong way to do it, in my opinion.
About them at all. I mean, Ben Moss. And I can't remember the other guy's name, but there was a case, I guess, recently in the last few years in Connecticut over a lake, and this guy had this. And our friend Finn Handley did the animation for them of this glowing giant ball of fire that kind of followed this police car for a little while, then flew off across the lake.
Beautiful.
Apparently other people had seen something like that. Recently, there was a school that it flew over near, and some people at the school had seen it either earlier or that same night. I think the janitor or something, or somebody that was cleaning up there saw the same thing. Anyway, so that's definitely a civilian case, and they had, the recreation. They went and at the same time of night, at the same part of the road, they flew a drone with a light on it to see how far it might be or how bright it might be, or, like, okay, the luminosity at this distance was this much. Let's get a 120,000 candle power light and run it up with a drone and see what it looks like from that distance. Just stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, they're investigating, but they're also trying to figure out if somebody saw something, what are the physical aspects of it.
Uh-huh.
And can those be reproduced? And the guy's like, okay, it was about this distance. Like, well, if we take a light and put it over there at that distance, does it kind of look the same? Is the atmospheric scattering the same? Just all that stuff.
Right. That's great. Okay, good. Because like, and it's probably my own naivete because I don't like sometimes pay attention to these scientific conferences like SCU. But like,
Yeah.
you
Luckily,
really.
I don't know why. I just am. Just any aspect of this interests me. Well, just
Well,
about it.
I agree, and it makes me happy that a person like I don't know what to say, like I guess from my circle of UFO friends, it's like you're our representative, man, at these things. we send Greg in to get the scoop and to get the dirt.
Yeah, I got sent in for the Society for UAP Studies, Mike Siffone's group, which I joined. I don't join anything.
Yeah, you're not a club guy.
No, but I was encouraged to join by Mike, who's the founder, and also Dave Metcalf, who's on their staff.
Oh, we love Dave Metcalf.
Yeah, and David just said, "I know you don't join anything, but just do it."
Yeah.
And so Mike offered to let me teach a class, and I was like, "I'm not a doctorate in anything." He said, "Are you thinking about getting a doctorate?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, there you are. If you've got something useful, send me the abstract and we'll talk about it. I'm not going to exclude you just because you're not a full-fledged academic." And I was like, wow. I mean, that's great.
I think so too. Yeah.
It is not, it doesn't, these groups are also realizing, like Saul and the Archives of the Impossible, that the civilian or the non-academic part of this, the experiencer part of it, is very important.
Yep.
And they can't ignore it. I mean, they're not going to just they're not going to turn into a saucer club of believers or whatever with rituals and all that and whatever. But there's room for that. I mean, I went to the Archives of the Impossible and looked at the Strieber papers for an entire day. The communion letters. They let me do that.
That's very cool. And you know what? That is very encouraging to me. And obviously, like, I'm a big fan of Jeffrey Kripal's work, and he's a wonderful thinker on all this stuff. So it's not surprising that he's very open-minded to like, no, let's get different angles, different ideas, and different people from different walks of life.
He's just such a nice person that it's like I would be surprised if he wanted to exclude anybody, and he doesn't.
That's good because the gatekeeping. I mean, there's always been a kind of a gatekeeping aspect in
totally.
all this stuff, and I think that's such the wrong way to go about it.
Yeah, I read a paper by Greg Agesian, who wrote the Before the Saucers Came, that came out last year. And it was basically about language and gatekeeping using various things such as language.
Yeah.
Like, meaning we're going to talk about in a way that outsiders like just use shop talk, or use academic talk, or use whatever. And he didn't leave anybody. It's like he pointed his finger at academics. But he also pointed his fingers at anthropologists and ufologists and just kind of like, if you don't know these terms, you're not in the club and get out of here. And he was saying that that's a very direct way. Actually, it's a subtle way of gatekeeping and keeping people who you don't like or aren't cool out.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's disappearing as well. I mean, the fact that MUFON have become speak is like, it's insane to me. Wow.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
Witness reactions, like emotional and physiological reactions that nobody ever documents. Like, what color was it? What size was it? How fast was it going? What time of day? All that stuff. It's like, well, why don't you ask them how they felt about it, or if there was a lasting impression, or if their life was changed, or if they get a phone call from their dead grandmother the next day, or whatever. Just stuff like that. This is something Earl said, and I would quote him all the time. He said it, and he investigated cases for MUFON for years, like 10 or 15 years, maybe longer. And he said, if there's not something in the testimony that makes no sense, I doubt the testimony.
I love that, and I feel the same way. Yeah, if when things are too organized and too galactic federation-y, then I'm like, I don't know. It seems a little organized.
Or just somebody is just so intent on this happened to me. This is exactly what happened. And there's like, it's just dry.
Yeah.
Like, I saw this and this weird thing and it kind of scared me. It's like,
yeah.
What else happened? Well, that was it. Like,
yeah.
saying your dog didn't pass out for 3 hours, or he said at the end he would say anything else that you might be embarrassed to talk about. I won't tell anybody. Just something you want to get off your chest or out of the way, or make you feel better by telling somebody, and I won't judge you for it. I mean, I do stuff all the time, and people would tell him. So.
Well, what's interesting about that is kind of like the symptoms, I guess, or like the after symptoms of a UFO encounter is that, like, at this point I've read so many books about, like, high strangeness in general, and like it seems to me like that I mean, you hear about that in Bigfoot sightings, in the cryptid sightings, and ghost encounters and poltergeists, where the event happens, and then in the days after or the weeks after, other weird stuff starts happening too. So it's not just UFOs where you get that, which is interesting to me.
I'm well aware of that. It's not my area, but I'm totally interested in it, and I know that there's a total 100% paranormal aspect to cryptid, and not so much hauntings, but cryptid stuff.
Yeah,
hauntings seem to be their own thing. But the witness encounter with something unknown in the environment, outdoors. There always seems to be something, or sometimes indoors. There always seems to be something else associated with it. I mean, it's like Earl said. If there isn't, then you kind of doubt the account almost.
Right. If there's
a list of all the weird things that have happened to people, plus all the weird things that have that has changed their lives, that's a data set. That's a data set that's ignored. That MUFON wants to. It's like, what's the ignored data? Boy, there's a huge amount of it.
Yeah, it's like, and to me, it's like the absurdity and surrealism is the most interesting aspect of an event. Like,
for UFOs, surrealism is not surreal; it's normal.
Whoa, that's a quote right there. That's a great quote. Oh man. Well, and so you also,
for UFO witnesses, surrealism is normal. There we go.
I think so. And then kind of on the. I don't know, maybe this is not the right way to say it, but like sort of on the opposite end of the spectrum, you went to contact at the desert in Joshua Tree. Is that in Joshua Tree or Palm Springs?
It was in Rancho Mirage, which is next to Palm Springs.
Right, okay.
How was that? Palm Springs, Cathedral City, Coachella area.
And that's like the Lollapalooza of ufology.
It is, it totally is. It's so weird that it takes place right near where Coachella takes place, because it's kind of the same thing.
It really is. And yet you get the big name acts, and then you get some smaller ones here and there. But what was your experience there?
Yeah, everyone, all the time, all at once.
Yeah, it really is.
Because I went, and I just had a press pass, so I couldn't see everything. And plus, you can't see everything. They have 3 things scheduled at the same time that I wanted to see all of them, and I just couldn't.
Yeah.
I want to see Berg and Paul Hynek and Paul Smith all speaking, but they're all speaking at the same time, so I got
right.
So, if you went to the regular, because there's speeches and workshops, and intensives, and so I had no ticket to the workshops, intensives, or the dinner or anything like that. I did get in as a guest on a few of the workshops, just because I just asked the person that I knew, it's like, can I come here? And they,
yeah.
The best one was I went to Paul Smith, the Army remote viewer, nicest person in the world. I went to his talk, and beforehand, there were like security people at the door, and I stuck my head in, and they said, "What do you want?" And I said, "I'm his guest." And Paul looked up, and he said, "Don't trust anything that man says," and they left.
That's great. He is a really nice guy. I met him at a Laughlin UFO conference, and we actually went and got a cup of coffee, and I got to talk to him for like half hour, and he was super cool. Signed my book, and his book was.
You should have him on. I had him on. And
I need to.
Yeah, we talked about remote viewing, and after we were done, he goes, "Why didn't we talk about UFOs?" And I said, "I didn't know you wanted to." He goes, "I wanted to talk about UFOs."
Yeah, well, I know, and he's like one of the luminaries of the remote viewing world, I guess, if that's a thing.
Yeah, I mean, one of the original people signed up for the entire, pretty much almost the entire run of the Army remote viewing program.
Wow.
And I know him, and Lynn Buchanan was the first one. Lynn, I interviewed in like the 90s, and I still talk to him occasionally. He's another, like, I don't know what it is with these remote viewers that I know. They're just all the nicest people.
Oh, that's great.
Like we were talking about, it's like you meet these people, it's like, why are these people so nice? They just are. You know, I don't know why. I don't know what it is that happened to them that made them like so well disposed and personable, but they are. So
Well, it's easy to be nice. You know, it feels
yeah,
good.
you
too.
know what? It is. It's a lot easier to be nice.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
So yeah, all the normal people were there, like Dolan and Linda Howe and God. Those are the two I always think of. Like, who are the ones that are always there?
Yeah, the big coast to coast luminaries. Yeah. They're big names. They're big names.
Yeah, so they always pull people in. You know, Childress and Giorgio didn't make it this time. But that's fine. You know what? Kind of the main reason I go to these things, like Contact, is because not so much for the content, although some of it's amazing, like Paul Smith's thing. Whitley's workshop was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about the physiology of the visitors.
Yes,
And-
the visitors.
That's my Whitley voice.
That is a good Whitley, man.
He's not allowed in my workshop.
Greg.
But some of these workshops, the main thing is to go and I want to talk to people. I want to sit there and have coffee like you did with Paul.
Yeah.
And just sit down and talk to somebody personally for a little while.
Right.
And some people can do it. Other people are too busy. Some people, my charm doesn't work with them. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or also see people I haven't seen in a while. All my friends, you know, I mean, I have friends there that have nothing to do with speaking or anything like that. They're either helping to organize, or they're just attending, or whatever. And I hang out with those people too. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great way to.
Finley spoke there. He's a really good friend of mine, and he's the Nation of Islam scholar.
Yeah, you did an episode on Radio Misterioso with him a handful of years back, and it was excellent.
Yeah, like 2019, sometime like March, April, something like that.
Yeah, I thought it was
I mean,
super
it was
interesting.
funny because then suddenly other people had him on like pretty soon after that. It's like, oh my God, here's a new person. And I was lucky to meet him and see him talk. And I was like, Steve, will you come on my show? And he said, oh, yeah.
Right.
So he was at this.
Is he the one? I can't remember because it's been a while since I heard that. But isn't he kind of a scholar on Sun Ra too?
Yes. In fact, in his talk, he talked about Sun Ra a bit. And he talked about Parliament Funkadelic and their whole UFO experience. And
yeah.
basically what he does is like, nobody hears what the black community thinks about UFOs. You know, everybody's hearing all the crazy ideas from white people about like UFOs.
True.
So he has to come and represent, like, you know.
That's great.
This is how this mythology has filtered through the black community in the United States. He does a little bit of other countries, but mostly the United States. Because he's a religious studies scholar. He's chairman of the African American Studies Department at Louisiana State University, PhD in religion. He got from Jeff, surprise, from Jeff's department, Jeff Kreipel.
Yeah.
But every time he speaks, I mean, I'll say, oh yeah, he said that before, but he's got some new stuff. So this time he introduced some new aspects of the history of this that he hadn't before. I never seen him talk about Parliament to the degree that he did this time.
That is really encouraging. That, I mean, it seems like almost like I went to Contact in the Desert. Like, I don't know if it was the first one. It was probably like 9 or 10 years ago. You know. Yeah,
when it was at the Mental Physics Institute in Joshua Tree.
That's exactly right. And I remember.
Yeah.
You know, but it seems like they've branched out, and like actually now it's like, I think maybe I would like it more now, because I mean, like, they were not having guys like Finley speak, you know, like at least when I was there, I was like, it was pretty mainstream and a little bit boring to me. But but like you said, like, I always get something out of going to these conferences, and it's about talking to the people, and a lot of people are experiencers there, and they want to tell you their stories, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I want to hear those things. Obviously,
me too. Me too.
Dean Alioto showed his film called The Alien Perspective. I guess there's a part 1 and 2 of it. He showed part 2.
Right.
And I was in part 2 for like a minute. So, because Diana Pasulka was in it quite a bit, Paul Hynek, Steven's in it. And before the film, he said, would you come up on stage and talk about the film with Paul? I said, Hynek? And he said, yeah. I said, oh, yeah. So I ended up being a speaker at Contact in the Desert, even though I wasn't a speaker.
That's great.
For like half an hour, we just sat up there with the moderator, Dean, and myself and Paul Hynek, and we talked about the film and basically I got to pontificate about my co-creation and the art and UFOs thing I want to talk about, and then
which is something I want to bring up later because I'm a big fan of both those concepts, the co-creation and the Cosmic Art Project.
Okay, well, cool, thank you.
Yeah,
anyway,
but
it was fun to be able to do that. I saw Chris Bledsoe try to call down flying saucers, and nothing happened when I was there. I guess he's claiming something happened, but
but then it got debunked.
Huh?
Yeah. I think. Well, I mean, I'm not saying I know it was, but I guess I saw that he claimed that something happened, and then people were like, "Well, no, it was a plane."
One person I know saw something where he said, "I don't know what it was. It could have been a drone, but it was very short."
Right.
I wasn't, and I was in the crowd when that was going on, but nobody in the crowd seemed to say anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I didn't get there until like half an hour into it. It was like an hour and a half long or 2 hours or something. And I stayed till when most of the people had left because that's when stuff happens, right?
Right, of course.
So I stayed quite late. Not everybody was gone, but most of the people were gone, and I stayed, and I really didn't see anything. A bird flew out of a tree and freaked everybody out. Everybody went, oh! And I was like, oh.
Well, actually, I'm curious. Chris Bledsoe is an interesting figure to me. Like, what is your take on, like, I mean, there's some interesting, I guess political aspects to the Chris Bledsoe story where seems that it's been verified that he has been visited, his property's been visited by a lot of, NASA people or, high-level military intelligence people, which is weird, and then I read his book, which I thought was kind of a weird book. It was more like a prophecy book than anything. It felt like a religious, it felt like a religious text, but like, what do you think about Chris Bledsoe? Not like as a person, he seems like a very nice guy, but like, what do you think? Like, is he being?
I think something's going. You know what? I compare it to the Uri Geller thing. Like, he couldn't make something happen every time, so he will gin up things that might not be very, very, very obvious or important, just to keep his narrative going.
Yeah,
and that doesn't mean he's full of crap. I don't think he is at all, because I talk to people, in 2020, 21, who are going there and telling me, and people I trust, like Mike Clellan, were going there and saying, I seen some stuff. Those pictures of the dog like staring in the. It's like, oh God, stuff happened.
Yeah,
And so I know that there's something going on there, but I also think as time goes on, more people pay attention, and he's got to be on more.
Right.
So if he's got to be on, he's got to have something for people, even if there's nothing obvious. It might be obvious to him at that point, but it's not obvious to most people.
He's got to keep on producing.
Yeah, and he did say, you can't be sitting here being skeptical and nothing's going to happen and all that. And I psyched myself into believing we were going to see something amazing. I completely took all skeptical, everything, and pattern recognition and all that out of my mind, and just said, I'm going to sit here and just experience whatever happens, and I hope something happens. And nothing did, but whatever.
Yeah. That's fine. I mean, yeah.
But unless he starts asking people for money and, moving out to the jungle and starting a cult, I don't think there's anything wrong or harmful with what he's doing.
No,
God, an aspect of this that's been going on forever.
Yeah, and he's not the
aspect of it. And
and he's not the first person to summon UFOs. That's been going on since the probably late 40s.
Yeah. Even Stephen talked about Prophet Yahweh and what he was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
All I ever heard about Yahweh was, there was a guy with balloons far away. It's like, I don't know. Yeah. I wasn't with Prophet Yahweh. I think I had a chance to meet him or do something with him once, and I didn't do it, which was stupid. Oh, I got something else to do, and I did, but it wasn't that important. It's like, nothing's gonna happen. I could have looked up with Yahweh, goddammit. You know, he's
I
dead.
know. You know, I the other day, you know, recently, and maybe you can help explain who this person is and his significance in UFOs, because I feel like the name Ray Stamford, who just recently passed away, he was actually a pretty big figure in UFOs going way, way back towards the beginning. I mean, you know, there's many significant things about. I mean, he was also the first one on scene before Hynek and the military. The Socorro UFO, which is one of my favorite UFO cases in American history. But you wrote a really beautiful tribute to him on the Radio Misterioso page. Do you mind kind of like helping?
I wrote
like,
that at a baseball game while I was waiting for the game to start.
Well, you nailed it. You were inspired at the Dodger Stadium.
I better write that. Now I've got an hour and a half with nothing to do. So I just sat there on my phone and typed it up.
Perfect. Well, I loved it. I thought it was very beautiful. Great
Thank
tribute to an important figure. But do you mind like helping me, or you know, maybe trying to explain who Ray Stanford was, his significance, and like why you think he's kind of an important figure in ufology?
Big question. I'm not an expert. I met him once. I spent a day with him.
Yeah, you did.
Actually, because Chris O'Brien said, Greg's not an asshole. You should talk to him. And he said,
right.
Well, come on out anytime you're here.
Right.
And I happened to be in D.C. because Sigrid, my late wife, was there for a National Librarians Convention. And I was like, I could go see Ray Stanford. So I called him beforehand, and he said, yeah, come on out. You come on out on this day. I took a train all the way to the end of the line to Silver Spring, Maryland. Ray came and picked me up in his car at the train station, drove me to his house, and spent the entire day with me, showing me as much as he could or that survived of all of his UFO archives and films and tapes. The problem is, and this I'll go back a little bit and give you background. Ray Stanford was a teenager during the contactee era. Him and his brother, Rex, they were twins.
Yeah, in like the 1950s, right? Yeah. Like
early 50s. He's actually the one that told me the story. He's the one that told the story about George Adamski saying, what was it? And he did an impersonation of Adamski. It was hilarious. What did he say? That man Roosevelt, he started the prohibition. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have to get into this saucer crap. Because apparently he was bootlegging.
Amazing.
Or no, he repealed prohibition, and Adamski was bootlegging. He was making money off it. And then when he was drunk one time, he said, I wish I wouldn't have had to get into all this saucer crap. Which is a great story.
It's a great story.
But Ray got disillusioned with the contactees, but also he claimed, or believed deeply that he was psychic and he could channel and communicate with space people. And I think he tried that for a while. And then he decided sometime in the 1960s, I think after the Socorro investigation that he did, he wrote a book about it, which is in the post there, Socorro Saucer in a Pentagon Pantry. What a great
Which is an amazing title for a book.
Yeah. I found a signed copy. I think he was selling signed copies online for a while, trying to make money, so I bought one from him.
Oh, God, I wish I would have bought one too.
But he also started something called, what was it?
With psychic something, right?
No, it was, God. It was something Stargate International.
It might have just been Stargate International, right? Was it Project Stargate International?
That's it. Yeah, Project Stargate International.
Yeah. Where
he got a bunch of instruments, tracking instruments, high-speed film, infrared. I don't know if he had radar. But among other things, he set up this circle of light outside of Austin, I think. Circle of electric lights that were on a circuit that would make them go in sequence in circles and do other patterns, trying to attract UFOs. And he said he attracted some, and that he got film of them and all that, but I didn't see any of that. But he told me when I visited him, he always carried a film camera if he could with him, and he'd filmed UFOs out of windows of airplanes, and when he was driving, he had one that he got, I think, in Corpus Christi, which is the one he saw. I think it was Corpus Christi, Texas, that he wanted to show me.
And that's the famous footage that Christopher O'Brien would talk about.
Yeah. The problem was and this is what Chris told me and a couple other people, Ben Moss too, who was friends with Ray and his wife Sheila. But what they told me was that for the longest time he only wanted to have scientists, credentialed scientists, come and look at it, not just anybody.
Right.
And he was really cantankerous about it. And if they did, if they argued with him at all, he'd go, you don't know anything. He was kind of impatient.
Yeah.
A lot of people. He was cantankerous with me when I had him on my show. I had Walter on with me, and he said the Air Force was cooperating with him, and Walter said, Mr. Stanford, the Air Force doesn't do that. How do you know? He said, well, I was in the Air Force. I was in Air Force security. And before Walter could say anything, Ray just yelled bullshit at him. And every time Walter tried to open his mouth, Ray just screamed bullshit at him. But Mr. Stanford, like, bullshit! But I was in there, bullshit! Finally, Walter looked at me, and I was in the student, and I covered the microphone and said, Walter, he said, yes, don't worry about it. Just
yeah. Moving on.
Moving on. Yeah, and he said that one time he'd seen a 14,000-foot mothership. And I said, Ray, how did you know it was 14,000 feet? He goes, well, I looked at the size of it, and I compared it with the mountain height and all that, and did all the measurements, and it was 14,000 feet. It's like, okay.
Sounds good.
I still have the domain name 14,000footmothership.com. I bought that. I got that domain, or like whatever, homesteaded it based on Ray saying 14,000-foot mothership.
But you know,
I've never done anything with it.
One of the interesting things about Ray Stanford, though, and this is actually like...
I'll continue. I went off on a tangent.
No, it's right. I want to just interject this in here really quick, but like he legitimately, and like I don't know, I feel like, you know, Christopher O'Brien, I was a huge fan of Christopher O'Brien, but he would talk about how he might have been the most prolific amateur paleontologist like ever.
That was another part I was getting
he
to.
found dinosaur prints like all over. Somehow he was able to find them, and they would be like in a creek bed next to a mall. Like, yeah, like how in the hell?
He was somehow psychically able to do that.
Yeah.
Wait, let me finish up about his UFO stuff.
Please.
What he showed me, a bunch of different things, but that one, he couldn't show me the film. I said, Ray, where's the film? And he said, it deteriorated. I was like, you didn't get a video of it or anything? No, I just have stills from it. It's like, dude. He said, yeah, well, I guess I should have showed it to somebody or got it transferred. It's like, well, maybe Ben Moss, who has, maybe he'll be able to get something out of there that Ray didn't even know.
Yeah.
But what he showed me was a still. And the still was blown up, and it was like this, UFO-shaped saucer thing, like a classic, as far as I remember, a disc, and it was tilted like almost 90 degrees.
Right.
And on one side of it were these little lines coming, like really faint white lines coming out of it, and then meeting over here. And I'm absolutely certain he didn't draw these in or anything like that, because other people said they'd seen this for years. Why would he draw it in on film?
Right.
But he said that was in the direction of travel. Like, everywhere the thing went, that was in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that people had come to his house, like people from the government and scientists, and taken a look at it and said, okay, thank you. And they never did anything. They never got back in touch with it. So it either means they went and took the information and did something with it, or, I mean, either they thought it was unimpressive, or they took the information somewhere and did something with it.
Right.
Who knows? He also showed me, he said that was the inspiration for this NASA scientist to start a project that would use lasers to shoot spacecraft into space.
Whoa.
And the guy he showed me the paper the guy presented to NASA. I mean, it got to the point where it was called the Lightcraft Project. And he showed me the letter that this guy, and it's such a strange name, it's easy to remember. Leek Mirabeau was his name.
Great name.
Scientist, Leikmyrabo. Leek Mirabeau.
Yeah.
You can look it up, I think, the Lightcraft Project. Anyway, Ray said that he had come over and talked to him, and though it wasn't exactly what Ray had found out with UFOs, apparently what he'd seen inspired him to initiate this project. I mean, they had tested it. I've actually seen video of them taking these little like cone-shaped things that were very shiny on one side and shooting lasers at them, and the lasers make them go up. So he just wanted to scale this up to this huge thing, get the rocket into space. Or no, he wanted to lift it from the ground, I think, because that's where most of the fuel is used. But that project went nowhere because it wasn't practical, apparently. It was scaled up, it wasn't practical. Anyway, yeah, the amateur paleontology stuff, Chris told me about that. And you go into Ray's house, the entire living room and some of the other rooms have pathways between all the dinosaur tracks, the fossils, the fossilized dinosaur poop, and all kinds of weird stuff, like minerals. He opened up a case and showed me all these strange minerals and gold embedded in things, and amber with insects. He was interested in that stuff. That was one of his passions, was this amateur paleontology.
Did he claim that he was using like a special ability? It's like, I mean, I remember, like, I think so. Like Chris years and years and years ago, I think like on Facebook posted this article that was written about Ray, and God, I mean, it might have been like the Washington Post. It was some very mainstream big publication, and they wrote this really incredible article about him, saying like, it's miraculous what this guy is doing. Like an amateur guy with no training, going out in places where they're like populated, like almost like neighborhoods. He would find them like in suburban areas sometimes. Like what?
Yeah, one of them he found, and I said this in the obituary thing I wrote for him, was that his wife for many years worked for the Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland. And during our visit, him and his wife said, "You want to go see the dinosaur tracks at Goddard?" And I said, yeah. So Ray drove us over there. They gave me a little pass to go in, and we drove through the facility and ended up in this building where they had taken the dinosaur tracks out of the slab of rock out of the creek bed or near the creek bed and put it up on a wall. And he had gotten full credit. His name was all over it. And he was standing there showing me the dinosaur tracks and, talking to me about how he was just there with his wife. And he kind of went, "Oh, I wonder if there's any dinosaur tracks over here." And he just found them. And he can't put them there. They're legitimate,
Yeah.
They had to blast them out of the ground carefully. But anyway, while he was sitting there explaining it to me, a tour group came through and he just started doing the guy said, "Oh, here's the guy that actually discovered it." So my picture of him standing in front of those dinosaurs, I've got a couple other pictures of him with his hands up and pointing because he was talking to this tour group about how he discovered them and what they were, and it was amazing.
That's so cool. Like, well, yeah, he's such an interesting. One question I have about Ray in terms of the Socorro case, like, how do you know how? I have not read his book about the Socorro case, but
I don't remember how he found out about it. So quickly.
Yeah, like how was he the first person on the scene? Like it seems so.
Somehow he found out about it, like through APRO or somebody heard about it, and somehow he was close enough that he drove for like a day and a half or 2 days very quickly as soon as he heard about it to get there.
Right.
And he got there. I think there was some military there, but no, there weren't because they probably would have kept him away.
Right.
But he got there in time enough to get samples from the rocks that apparently had metals scraped on it from whatever the thing that was there. If that's indeed what the metal was. I don't know why there'd be metal scraped on rocks around there, but I can't remember if he had them. I guess he did have them analyzed, and either it was inconclusive or something, earthly or whatever. Nothing that would be of note. I think some of those samples somehow got, maybe Gary Nolan and those people or Bigelow somehow got them and did the same. Not Ray's, but maybe it's from somewhere else. Maybe the military.
Right. Well, anyway. Didn't Ray also claim that he saw the same craft and had a picture of it, like in the distance?
He showed me pictures of being at Socorro, and all I saw was just like dark clouds and blobs. They didn't look like anything to me.
Right.
But the thing is, I wasn't standing there. I don't know. Either I would have been standing there with him and said, Ray, those are clouds. I don't see anything. Or I would have said, oh my God, Ray, I see it too. Just did film, Ray took a picture at the wrong time and wanted to, he wanted to prove to people that he'd seen it. And so the picture was proved to him. I don't know.
Right.
A long time ago, not that long ago, I decided to stop being so judgy about things because there's information in these cracks.
Right.
There's information in these cracks between total crap and, wow, this is really important. We need to look at this.
Yep.
And it's really hard to find that information. If you just look for, was it there or not? It's like, you're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah, you're missing the point. Yeah. That's exactly right. I wanted to bring this up because I feel like you should be given more credit for opening up this can of worms, and I mean that in a loving way. But like, usually the opener of worms is you know what I mean. But I feel like in the 21st century, you really got the ball rolling on the topic of like government military disinformation involvement with UFOs, and because of your book Project Beta. And I've never actually asked you this for as long as we've been friends. Like, what was your inspiration behind writing that book? Because I mean, like, a book like that, to my knowledge, and maybe there was books that touched upon stuff like that, but you really got into the machinations, and there's a narrative in that book too, But first off, I can't recommend that book enough, listeners. Project Beta by Gray Bishop is just a must-have on your shelf. I love it so much. But this book was, to me, the first, at least, book I had read of its kind. And I found it just as compelling, or more compelling, than most UFO books that deal with just the phenomenon. But you were dealing with, this disinformation plot that now is become like a thing people know about. But I feel like, for my money, it started with Project Beta, really.
Yeah. It's funny because a lot of the disinformation came from Benowitz himself, and it was just encouraged. And a few bits of it. I'm not privy to the entire story. He could have had phone calls or meetings that I don't even know about where they planted these ideas. But at least for the people inside and outside the military, like Doty or Moore, who was on both sides of it, or Jerry Miller, who was on the inside of it, or Gabe Valdez, who was on the outside of it and actually distrusted the government. So between all these people, I get this picture that, even from Gabe, that a lot of the stuff that he was seeing, dealing with, talking about, worried about, came out of his own ideas about things and his own extrapolations. And it's just that instead of discouraging them and saying, no, that's not it, it was encouraged just to keep him off the, off of projects.
What they were doing at Kirtland Air Force Base.
Revealing any information about black projects, or whatever you want to call it. Defense technology around Kirtland, where even still, they still do a lot of defense research there. And that, eventually that these delusions got worse and worse and worse and worse. I mean, I've seen this with people that have nothing to do with the government.
Yeah.
It kind of happened to me for a while.
Yeah.
Where you convince yourself that everything is, something's going on that it isn't, or somebody's following you, or whatever.
Yeah.
But the inspiration was nothing more than I met Patrick Weege at the SSE, Society for Scientific Exploration Conference in 2000, I think, in San Diego. And he said, well, I've got this deal with Simon & Schuster if you've got any ideas for books. And I sent him like 4. And one of them was that one. Was for Project. It wasn't called.
How did you know about? But like, I guess even delving further back, like, I had never heard of Paul Benowitz or this whole Paul Benowitz affair before Project Beta. That was like the first time I had heard about it. But
I heard about it before because of Bill, and also because
of Bill William Moore. Okay, interesting.
He was speech in 1989 at the MUFON convention in Vegas, where he basically told everybody what he could do.
Right.
So I knew, and I was there at that convention, and I sold books at Moore's table afterwards, and had people yelling at me.
Which is amazing.
It's kind of weird to remember I was just sitting there and people going, "What was that crap? Why is he charging so much for it?" It's like, I'm just selling the stuff. I didn't even know about any of this until just now. I know no more than you people.
Right, and just for my listeners who may not know what we're talking about, like, so in 1989, William Moore, and I'm going to cut to the chase and just paraphrase, like,
yeah, please,
he was involved
Thank
in...
you for explaining this.
Right, yeah, well, see, he wasn't... So William Moore, at the time, in the 80s, was, him and Stanton Friedman were probably the biggest ufologists. They were the big celebrities, like, they were writing... He wrote one of the first books about Roswell, the book about the Philadelphia experiment. It was, the first book about Roswell.
Friedman's research and Bill's research, and then mostly written by Charles Berlitz.
Right.
That book came out in 78.
Yeah, it was a game-changing book, right? And
yeah,
so William Moore...
Yeah.
Right, William Moore was a huge luminary and big figure in ufology in the 80s, and he was contacted by some people in the Air Force or Navy, what was it?
It was ostensibly Air Force Office of Special Investigations, but the person that ran it was a retired CIA person that they just brought back in to run this operation against the Russians and Chinese. And that's what the Benowitz thing, all this stuff we're talking about now was part of that operation. It was just a tiny huge machine that people don't realize that. They think, oh, the government was there trying to cover up UFOs. It's like, no, it was a one tool in a giant, or one piece of a giant machine.
Right. It was one operation. Yeah. But William Moore, so he was kind of being promised some real deal, like UFO information from the military if he would kind of spread some disinformation to
documents,
the UFO.
Basically,
yeah, he basically kind of like these disclosure-esque documents to the UFO scene. And cutting to the chase, so he was kind of working both sides, and in 1989, at this famous MUFON conference, he spilled the beans and basically, and kind of apologized. Like, look, I have been misleading you. There is so much disinformation and bad actors in this thing, and people were furious. But this is, if you're an old UFO head, this is one of the big pinnacle moments in ufology of the 20th century.
What they accused him was watching a fellow ufologist go crazy while the military just stood and did nothing while the military was running all this stuff and making it, in many ways, encouraging it.
Yeah.
And that's a legitimate concern and a complaint. And Moore's thing, look, I'm going to tell you as much as I can of what I did, and that other people are doing this, but it's not my business to tell you who they are.
Right.
He was. I don't think he was saying that just because of I'm not the only one. Just from just by the law of averages of intelligence, you're going to have as many assets as you possibly can.
Of course.
I mean, I've got a really strong suspicion that Bruce Maccabee was another one of those people.
Yeah, Bruce Maccabee
supported the Gulf Breeze thing way more than somebody that knew what he was talking about should know.
Right, he was this expert photo analyst, and how did he not see that? Those. Now, the interesting thing about Gulf Breeze is that there were a lot of sightings, and it could have been UFO hysteria, or there genuinely could have been something going on. We'll never know, probably. But Bruce Maccabee is a little sus to me. Yeah.
Oh, he's not going to talk about it. Moore never told me whether he was or not. I asked, and he said, I'm not going to comment on it, which either means I don't know or yeah, but I'm not going to tell you.
Right, right.
So, I mean, even privately, he wouldn't be giving up people and blowing people's cover or whatever. But he says, look, that's their business to do if they want to.
Yeah.
I asked him later. I said, would you have done it differently? He goes, yeah, I wouldn't have been so arrogant. Because he was just tired of people throwing accusations at him, most of which weren't true. They completely had the story wrong. And so he was tired of that. So part of it was just look, most of this is done now. Nobody's talking about it. It's not a thing. I was told it's okay to talk about it. So I'm just going to tell you all now what happened. And he actually, when you listen to it, he doesn't sound arrogant. He just sounds like maybe the wording was a little arrogant. But he just describes what happened to Paul, how he was involved in it, and please, the rest of you, beware of this kind of thing. because I
Yeah.
really didn't get anything out of it. They showed me all these documents, and most of them were either unhelpful or fake,
Yeah.
or both.
Right.
So he said,
And
he got the crap into the stick, just they said they do something, and they didn't really, they followed through, but not in the way that he wanted, expected, or was anything that was helpful. And
they kind of
all
screwed
his
him.
job was watch Paul tell us what he's thinking about, who he's talking to, because we want to know if there's foreign adversaries who are getting information from him about what we might be working on. Any little piece of information might be helpful. Like,
Right.
oh, well, I heard this, and it's like, there was this light, and it flashed this color, and it was going this direction. Well, that might triangulate with something else that some of their other operatives or spies or whatever were doing, and it just adds to their knowledge base.
Right.
In isolation, it's no big deal. But combined with all their other information, it might be something that reveals something they don't want revealed. So anyway, people don't like the government, this and that. But the thing is, their job was to develop weapons and keep the Soviets from looking at it, or the Chinese. And the UFO community was seen as a tool in this effort.
Right. It's so fascinating.
The UFO truth about UFOs had nothing to do with that at all.
Right. Well, it's like, I will say, like, Project Beta is my favorite UFO book that's not about UFOs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I wrote it. What is it? And I said, it's a spy story with UFO trappings.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Yeah, it really is like a spy thriller. It's almost like a James Bond book. It's so good. It's so good.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, highly recommend. I'm going to put a link to that where you can still order the book, right? There's still fresh copies out there.
I still get reports from Simon & Schuster saying I haven't earned my advance back. 20 years later. That book is 20 years old this year. It's frightening.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
That doesn't compute to me.
No. Slow down time. Kind of jumping around here. I want to ask you this, like, so what? I mean, like, if any, because I actually don't know for sure how you feel about this, but like, what American UFO cases would you, in your opinion, say there's a there, or maybe better phrase is like, what cases to you seem most credible, or that something anomalous and weird happened? I know that's kind of a hard question.
Yeah, there's so many.
Off the top of your head, there's so many. Yeah. Or like, what are your favorites? Where you're like something weird happened, man.
Kelly Hopkinsville, Pascagoula. I don't know what happened to Travis Walton after he got zapped, but
right.
All the witnesses to that.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And then, strangely enough, even the Tic Tac thing, because I've talked to a couple of pilots that were involved, and they told me directly what they're involved with. I talked to Alex Diedrich, the one-woman pilot, and she said she only saw it for a few seconds.
Right.
Because her job wasn't to be looking out the window at stuff going on in the water. Her job was to make sure everybody was in the right place. They were doing the mission they were supposed to do. She was monitoring, where they were, where the other planes were, if everybody was doing what they were supposed to do, making sure the ship knew that. Her job was to do that. Her job wasn't to look out the window and look at stuff in the water that might be. Anyway, with all of that, she said, "Yeah, I saw it for a second, like for a few seconds." She said, I said, "What'd you see?" And she basically said what all the other people saw, but what does that mean? Because they'd already talked about it.
Right.
But I did ask her. We sat down and talked for quite a while because she found out I was a pilot, even though she's a gazillion years ahead of me. We talked a little bit of flying talk, and that helped, grease the wheels about talking. Very nice person. I mean, like, over the top nice person. But she said during the conference we were at, which was Jay King's one in New York City, Christmas before last, December of 2024 or 23. She said, I was debriefed at the Pentagon twice. I had to go in and talk to a bunch of somebody in the audience said, why twice? She goes, well, the regime changed and the new one wanted to hear from me too.
Right.
So, but later I sat down and nobody asked her this, which is whatever. But I said, "Do you remember any of the questions they asked? Which ones stick with you? What kind of questions did they ask? What was the weirdest one they asked?" And she said, "They asked me if it cast a shadow." And to me, it's like, why would you put a stupid little, something like that in there? And the thing, visual, radar, all that, a lot of people were affected. So if it was, I asked Lou Elizondo about this a long time ago when I talked to him, whatever you think about Lou.
Yeah.
But what he said made sense. I said, well, how do you know this isn't someone else's technology? He said, if it was, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We'd be speaking Chinese or Russian.
Right. Right.
It just, whoever has this is just going to say, game over. You can't do anything about it.
Right.
So I'm not discounting there's something that looks like this technology, but may not be exactly what, it's like, did it go 20,000 miles? Did it go from, 30 or 40,000 feet down to the ocean in a few seconds? Or was that a projection that looked like it went? Because a projection isn't gonna cause any of the physical issues.
Right.
I don't know. I have no idea what happened.
Right.
I mean, I've had some military people say, yeah, it was all military stuff. But I don't know for sure. So as a modern case, a high-profile modern case, that might be one of them too. And
right.
I know people will say, there's disinformation and whatever. But the thing is, it's compelling to me. That's it. I don't believe any of these things.
Yes.
But I am highly compelled by them.
That's a great way of phrasing it, because, I think with UFOs, it's like saying, belief requires a very large act of faith, and I feel like that's...
Yeah, well, it's a bad word.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, belief is the enemy, as Keel said, so...
You know what I believe? My belief is in moral things. Don't kill people, like basically the Ten Commandments.
Yes.
Don't mess with other people. That's a belief. That's a deeply held belief. I don't have to scientifically prove it.
Yeah, exactly. I believe pizza to be awesome. How about that?
Yes, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
And if you don't, you're wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no argument here. There's no debate. But I'm sorry. I apologize for jumping around. But I love talking to you.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, this is just
the whole hour and whatever we've been talking.
Yeah, this is the way my brain is. But like, you have been tossing around this wonderful idea, which, like, I personally think there's something to it. But would you mind telling the listeners a little bit about your idea of UFOs being a cosmic art project?
Yeah. A while back, based on some of the co-creation stuff that I was on about for a while, the co-creation is...
I'm so sorry. I want to interject this. Also, folks, if you didn't know, Greg is like, he got his degree in art history, and he knows a lot about art and the history of art. So this is coming from a student of the arts.
I know more about that than I do about, archaeology.
Yeah.
So, which isn't much. So a few years ago, I had this idea, like, how much of what people report from UFOs is coming from them? A few people made mistakes, like, people are making stuff up. And it's like, no, how does your memory work? Right. What's going on? What happens right at the time? I mean, how much of the experience comes from whatever the UFO thing is and us? And I don't know what that is. It could be 1%. It could be 1% or 99%, or it could be all made up or totally not. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And it's a sliding scale for different things, I think, depending how close you are to whatever it is, what your personality, set and setting.
Yeah, absolutely.
But based on that, I started thinking, well, what's the only thing that can make people's lives change in a few minutes? Which is what a close encounter with a UFO does to a lot of people. It just basically just flips your worldview for a lot of people, or at least affects you deeply.
Yeah.
The only other thing that can do that, besides a traumatic event, which it kind of is a traumatic event, like a car crash or something, the only other thing that can do that is without harming you physically is art.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just talking about, it's like, no, paintings? Like, no, everything that's creative is art. Paintings, sculpture, movies, TV, music, poetry. Anything where you try to communicate something that can't be communicated in language directly. And a lot of people say that. I don't have the words for it.
Right.
And so it's not, I'm not suggesting that like the UFO, whatever's behind the UFOs are like artists but I'm trying to draw an analogy.
Yes.
When I say cosmic art project, it's like, well, it's presenting us with a bunch of input that we have to interpret. Well, that's what artists do. They show you something from their point of view, and your interpretation of it is more important than what they're trying to communicate, if they're a good artist.
Yes.
So I'm trying to draw that analogy between a UFO sighting and experiencing a great artwork, which affects you deeply. Because some people look at Starry Night by Vincent Van Gogh, and they go, "Oh, there's a bunch of colors and stuff." Other people start crying.
Right.
And so that's the same thing with UFOs. You've got reactions all over the place, and I think it's basically based on what people's cultural background and genetics and the time of day, and if they were in a fight with their girlfriend or husband that day or whatever. All these things all go into how you experience and remember something. And that's the other thing. When people tell you about a UFO sighting, they're not telling you what happened. They're telling you their memory of what happened.
Right.
So how does memory work? How does trauma affect memory? If we can get through all this and get some information from people about this, what's it going to tell us? I think it's going to tell us a damn sight more than just dry data about times and colors and speeds and all that. It'll be to me, it's like, okay, we've been doing left brain stuff with all the data. We've been ignoring the right brain. Let's pull the right brain in here, which is certainly affected by UFO experience, and find out how it affects that right brain. And I don't know what the answer is to it, just like I don't know what the answer is to massaging, millions of pieces of data.
Right.
But I do know that it might bring us, I'm pretty sure it'll bring us a perspective we haven't had before. And that's kind of what I'm going to try to encourage MUFON to move towards, at least in some way add some questions to their questionnaire. Like, how did it make you feel? Did it change your life? Go back and talk to them a week, a month, or a year later.
Yeah.
Follow up with people, even just a phone call. It's like, has anything happened since then? Do you still, if they don't want to talk about it, that's another data point.
Absolutely, it is.
One year later, don't want to talk about it anymore.
Right, and Valet has always been very good about that by staying in contact with these experiencers and following them throughout their lives, which is so valuable. And it's bared a lot of fruit for him. I always think of the Dr. X case where, fascinating things kept on happening to him. So,
but like it opens a door. It opens it changes somebody's whatever their sensitivity, or it changes the local environment around them personally to have weird things happen and make connections that weren't made before. I talked to Valet a long time ago. Luckily, I had the chance at the time, and I just said, I told him I was reading a book called Information and the Nature of Reality, which is about, a lot of people know about this now. A lot of people did then too, but not UFO people. Physicist John Wheeler's idea that the basis of all reality is information and not atoms.
Right.
That information is formed into physicality by the consciousness experiencing it. So I said this to Valet, and he said, well, don't you see in a physical universe, a lot of this stuff is crazy and impossible, and in an informational universe, it's normal.
Yeah. Interesting. And what you said, it makes me think, it's just like how, even just like art, how people, you get 5 people looking at a Dali painting, you're going to get 5 different responses.
Yeah.
And like, UFOs, like if you see a UFO or a flying saucer in 1985, you're going to think, oh, aliens from another planet. But if you see a flying saucer 500 years prior to that, they may think it's like the gods coming down from the heavens or whatever their culture is. So it's like UFOs are... that's why the analogy works so well for me. It's because like the interpretation is really important, and it is always changing. It seems. Yeah,
it's always changing, and I don't even know if the stimulus is the same. But It is something that's not human that is apparently intelligent.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that. If I had to get close to belief on anything, that's the only real belief I have about this. or close to a true belief, is that there's something intelligent that interacts with us occasionally.
Yeah.
That's all I can say about it. And it looks, for the longest time, it looks like machines. So we're just interpreting it as machines.
Right.
It may not necessarily be the whole of what's going on.
Right.
You know, it looks like a flying saucer looks like something that it flies. Oh, people are inside things and flying them. Well, then aliens must be inside these things and piloting them like human pilots. Which, in a lot of cases, that, you know, the witness testimony bears that out.
Yeah.
But we do have to realize that it's a convention that we have embedded deep in us.
Right. Well, and I realized the Tic Tac appeared as a machine, but like, it seems to me like just the last 10 years that the vast majority of UFO cases that I hear about are lights. It's almost like it's like, you know, we're almost post machine UFO in a way. Like, not totally, obviously people still see flying triangles and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of orbs
though. But like it's, you know, I mean, you know, you're hard pressed to find a good saucer case these days. Yeah.
No, not too many. As I don't know. Maybe I'm not paying attention. Even that one at the SCU that Moss and the other guy investigated. It wasn't some hard edged thing. It was a ball of fire.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like they're auditioning new craft, you know, again.
Yeah, or something, or they realize that or they or somebody or some interaction realizes that society and the way we look at reality and the science literacy is changing and people are having different ideas about what reality is. So maybe that's reflecting it. I don't know.
Right. It's fascinating because you know, with almost you know, with so many different manifestations of, you know, the weird and strange and unusual, like, you know, you see orbs of light with ghost stuff, you see it with cryptids, and you see it with UFOs, of course. And it's just, sometimes I'm like, is that just like the raw form of whatever? And it, you know
what gets our attention first, always, is light.
Yeah.
Light is very important to us.
Right.
That's why, you know, movies are really compelling, and you know, and TV. It's light coming in at us.
That's exactly right.
I made this analogy once. It wasn't just me; other people have said it. But you know, what was emitting light in, you know, the year 1100? Why do people go to churches so much? My God, where else could you go and see something amazing like this? All these colored lights coming at you from a stained glass window.
Yeah, and what are those? And usually they're projecting some kind of religious moment or, like, you know, metaphysical thing that, you know, like, and a lot of the churches I've been to, it's like they're depicting scenes from the Bible that where there's light. You know, it's almost like a projection, a movie projection. Yeah,
you're watching a movie from a frozen movie from the Middle Ages.
Right, that's exactly right. Well put.
You know, somebody comes in, they've never seen anything but dirt and dirt, sand, and dirt, sand, plants, and you know, the sun, and then they come into this place. It's huge, and it's got colored lights shining at you.
Yeah,
I mean, it was like a drug trip for them.
Right, it was like the Vegas sphere to them. You know, just overwhelming.
Because to them, I mean, they don't know how to make. You know, there were guilds that made stained glass. It was, you know, it was kind of a secret. Valet actually learned how to do this because he wanted to know how to make stained glass. And there may be a connection there with light.
Right.
But the thing is that it was the church knew how to get people's attention.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you go into a church and you see something you've never seen before, that is just as miraculous as what you've been taught, because most people couldn't read. That was the other thing. They were seeing something without having to read it. The priest would say, "Well, this happened then." It's like, then you see it glowing, you know, above you, and the colored light all over the floor. It was mind blowing.
Yeah, it must have been completely mind-blowing. You're so right.
Just like a UFO witness when they start witnessing these weird lights. So yeah, light has a really powerful effect on us. Light.
Oh my God. Yes.
Another reason I like the art connection.
Yeah, I love that so much. Well, you know, I have just a couple more questions for you. First off, thank you for giving me so much of your time, Greg. But yeah, man. Well, like, okay, like,
you're famous being on your show.
You are famous, man. I mean, like, You're my favorite UFO celebrity, so by far. Let me ask you this, man. Like, what do you think, like, in the last 70-ish years that, I guess, like, ufology proper probably, I would say, began roughly in the late 40s, maybe early 50s. What do you think, if anything, we have learned? Have we come to ask better questions, maybe? Or, like, is there anything that you think we have learned, like, concrete?
Nope. Except that the only thing we've learned, especially, I mean, you got to give Leslie Kean and Ralph Blumenthal credit. The only thing we've learned is that we should take this crap seriously. And
yeah,
that was not so well accepted prior to 2017.
True.
Now it's really well accepted amongst people. I mean, I basically mostly talk to academics about this now, most of the time, not all of them. Because those are the most those are the most interesting conversations to me.
Right.
People are saying things that they haven't said before. For the whole time I've been in this, people seem to be asking the same questions. And I was looking for better questions or different questions.
Right.
One of the talks at the Archives of the Impossible by Hussein Agrama, the professor of anthropology, he said, we have to look at this in a different way. We're going to have to, and I asked him about it later. He said, those magic eye picture things?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When you squint your eye,
you'd have to defocus so a pattern would come out. He said, we have to do that with UFO stuff.
I like that.
And he's, and the talk he gave was, he said that, and this completely floored me because it's something that I love. He said, we got to work on ourselves. He said, we've got to work on our own minds and our own ways of thinking about things and our own way of going through life before we make any progress on this. And he even suggested, like, using different mindfulness practices possibly to change your consciousness about and how you look at things so that maybe new patterns of apprehending or understanding or studying the issue might emerge. And that's one of the most helpful and important things I've heard recently. And
that's powerful.
I haven't heard that from other people. Other people may have said it in the past, but that was the first time I've heard it articulated so well.
That is, and then that's encouraging also to hear from the academic world, I think.
And it wasn't specific either. People are like, well, what's that supposed to mean? Work on yourself. It's like, well, if you don't think it's useful, then go somewhere else and don't worry about it.
Right, and also working on yourself, that's going to mean a different thing to different people. So
exactly. I mean, I used to do tea ceremony. My teacher passed away, so now I'm going to go do Zen archery. That's my mindfulness practice.
That's awesome. That's great.
Because I can't play golf with you.
Yeah, I messed it all up. No, but I honestly, like, I think that is a real, like, kind of a sweet sentiment, because even if it doesn't help your understanding of UFOs and weird stuff, you're going to benefit from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way around that not improving your life.
I totally agree. I couldn't agree more.
I mean, not only is he compassionate, but he just said, look, if we get a little bit more out of our own heads and our own structures and our own rules, maybe imposed upon us, maybe we can get maybe things will be more clear about what the way forward might be. And so
I love that.
I love that too. And I think any effort going anywhere right now is good. I mean, even if I don't agree with it. About 20 years ago, Nick Redfern and I got interviewed, and they said, what do you think would happen in the future of ufology? I said, I want stuff that happens that pisses me off.
Right.
Things are, blossoming.
Yeah, exactly. No, and you're right. And like, I feel like I'm very guilty of like putting down like modern mainstream ufology.
Well, I am too. But that's
I need to work on that. That's something I should work on, because like, hey, you know what? Not everyone's been reading these books since they were like 9 years old, and like they're getting into it, they're excited about it, and maybe that's a good thing. But like, I'm just always like, I guess, and this is like my own judgment where I should get out of my own head, but I'm like, oh, but you're getting into it in the wrong way. I'm like, I should shut up when I say, say that kind of stuff, because
I complain
people
about
get
people.
into it. Yeah, I guess.
Oh my God, this guy's giving pancakes. It's like, the thing is, they're just getting into it. There's no reason I should be happy they're getting into it.
Right. I should too. So that I'm going to work on that for myself. I'm going to stop dissing the disclosure movement. Like, God bless. I hope they get the answers they want.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll stop, but I'm tired of doing it. So.
Yeah, I think it is. It's true. It's like, why am I just being? And it's only because I care and I want people to not get like led astray. And I also do think it kind of breeds this like unhealthy distrust in the world. And I don't know. Like, I could go on for days, but I'm going to work on myself, Greg. That's my homework. Let me ask you one more question before we close out here. Yeah, we'll both work out. We'll report back. What keeps you interested in UFOs and like just Fortean studies in general? Is the mystery the juice for you that still pulls you back in?
Yeah, that's two prongs in that stab into the future. One is that, just because I don't think it'll ever be answered, but along the way there's incredibly great stuff.
Yep.
The other thing is I get to hang out and talk to people like you.
Yeah.
It's just, I've met some of the best people through this, like the coolest people that I thought I was a weirdo when I was a kid. Everybody said, you weirdo. And it shamed me. Now it's like, it's like a badge of honor. I mean, I know that's normal in society now and all that, but just finding so many people's like, oh my God, you're into this too. And especially people I've known like you for years. It's just kind of like, it took a while, but I've got, deep, lasting, and enduring, friendships with people based on this. And, we went and played golf. We were, we talked about UFOs, but we talked about other stuff. We talked about comedy.
Like, we talk about comedy, music, art of all kinds. Yeah, food. We have a lot. Turns out we have a lot in common. Like we wouldn't have known that.
People that tend to be into this tend to be interesting people that are not just into the UFO. Yeah, there's some that are just into the UFO thing.
Yes,
but there's a lot that it's a forbidden piece of knowledge, and if your brain wants to go there, not so much anymore, but if your brain wants to go there and deal with it, it means you have an adventurous spirit. And any adventurous spirit is, that's a better person to talk with. That's a better person to have in your friend group. That's a better person to invite to the party. Stuff like that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. To me, one of the biggest like attractions when I meet somebody is like, are they curious?
Yeah.
About like everything. I mean, like I'm curious to a fault where sometimes I maybe distract myself from other things in life, but I am so deeply curious about everything. Yeah, right? But curiosity, I think, is a beautiful thing. And like, you can get bogged down by world events, paying your taxes, work, and blah, 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 blah. And it can drive the curiosity out of you, which I think is dangerous for society, actually.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have a questioning mind, you're not going to question what's given to you. You're not just going to question what's told you. And it's not always wrong. And it's not always part of a conspiracy and all that. But you got to have the long-term discernment to be able to figure that out for yourself. Yeah. And, I think the UFO thing, actually, you can tell people when people have a good discernment with it, because if somebody immediately starts telling you have to believe in whatever, it's like, yeah, I don't want to talk to you because you've already made up your mind.
Yeah, you're boring. Yeah, you have a fixed opinion.
Yeah, but if they're like, I don't know what it is yet, I don't know even, the last thing that Valet said in one of his talks, he said, I've been into this for most of my life. I still don't know what's going on. I have no idea.
Right.
Yet he still pursues it.
Yeah.
And so, that relentless curiosity is, people say, do you listen to UFO podcasts? I don't listen to any UFO podcasts. What I'm listening to is podcasts about food, about like ancient history, I just got finished listening to one really in depth about the Titanic disaster, like from when it was built to after they buried everybody that was on the ship and beyond.
Wow.
That's fascinating to me. It's like, I've got enough UFO stuff in my head, but I'm constantly, oh my God, just so much, crime podcasts, my God. What's my other favorite one? Legends of the Old West. I mean, I've heard, they started out with Billy the Kid and went through, the gunfight at the OK Corral, and then what did Wyatt Earp do afterwards? That stuff fascinating. I went to a UFO convention, to the Sol convention. I stopped in Colma because Wyatt Earp is buried there. On my way there, I stopped at Wyatt Earp's grave.
That's great. That is great. Man, Greg, this has been so fun, and I'm so happy I got to have you back on for the 100th episode. You were the first. I mean, I remember starting this podcast, I'm like, well, obviously, I'm going to make Greg be the first guest. And you were also... We did, and I was like, oh, well, Greg would be nice to me. He'll be patient with me because I don't know how to do this, and and you were.
I mean, it's just us talking like we normally do. And
yeah,
you're
it's true.
A gregarious actor person. I don't know why you think you would have any problem talking to people. I think of you like me. I got this thing in my mind. I can talk to anybody about anything.
Yeah. I'm definitely. Well, it's weird because I'm like I'm an introverted extrovert. Like I have gifts to be extroverted, but like it takes a lot of energy on me, and then I like fall over and pass out. But like man. I thank you UFOs for bringing us together and having this wonderful lifelong friendship. And like you said, that really is, I mean, sound cheesy, but the point of UFOs is the friends we make along the way.
Totally.
Maybe that's it.
That's a good encapsulation of the conversation. So yes,
I think so. And Greg, would you mind telling listeners where they can find more of you, my friend?
I guess just look up my name online or go to Radio Misterioso, which I keep saying I'm going to reboot, and I'm going to. So I've got about 10 interviews left. But that's radiomisterioso.com, just one word, RADIO, M-I-S, not M-Y.
Yeah.
Misterioso, spelled like it would be Spanish. Misterioso.com. So that these interviews that Steve was talking about, they're all there. I think they're on Apple Podcasts too.
It is. Not all of them. I will put links to where you can find all this stuff. And I'm actually, I consider myself a Radio Misterioso historian and the #1 fan. So on Greg's website, I think you can almost listen to every single one if you just keep on scrolling back. And they are so damn worthwhile. And it's not just UFOs and Fortean. Like there's so many great episodes about counterculture, outsider art. It really is. It's just one of those things when I first heard, I go, oh, this is absolutely for me. It was the show I'd always been waiting for. It's so legendary. And it was really important to, like Josh and I always talk about how like, we grew up loving this, Joshua McCutcheon, but like when we both heard Radio Misterioso, we're like, oh wait, like somebody made a podcast someone made a show just for me, like it was everything I ever wanted. So like it is such an important contribution to these fields, and I just can't say not enough great things about it. So folks, I will put the link there. You will thank me later for going back and listening to these, and we can all keep on pushing Greg and holding his feet to the fire to reboot the show, because boy, we need it now.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve. Thanks for having me on again. And anytime. I always love it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have you back on soon then.
Just happened to
It really is. Folks, thank you so much for listening to another episode of High Strangeness. Enjoy your dinner tonight. Peace.